What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Got a lot of recommendations for this film. It's in my local theater, so I figured, you know what? Let's go watch it and review it. It's a Bollywood movie called Jugjugg Jeeyo, and today we're going to talk about it, whether or not it's good, in one of my very first romantic comedic experiences with a movie like this. So it's going to be fun to talk about. And this film follows the story of Kukoo and Naina as the childhood sweethearts who are dealing with their current marital problems. It becomes entangled when it is discovered that his father is in an extramarital relationship, as this movie explores family emotions along with plenty of comedy. So it's a very extravagant, huge romantic comedy type of film, as we have two very distinct issues that we are dealing with. One, our main relationship, of course, Kukoo and Naina, as they are somewhat rediscovering that not everything is working as well as maybe they had planned. When we get that flashback at the beginning, it was very sweet, it was genuine, but she is at a point in her life to where she is finding success. He is at a point in his life to where he believes he's on the path to failure. And those two ideologies are clashing to the point to where they believe that just maybe divorce is the best option. I didn't know what to expect when it came to that. That's a very interesting story point to be dealing with, but you don't only have one relationship that's heading in that direction. You have another one because Kukoo's father is in this relationship on the side, and his poor mother is kind of having to come to the realization that maybe their relationship isn't quite working. There's a great conversation between Kukoo and his father about 3/4 of the way through the film where, his father, he's had a bit much to drink, and they're going back and forth, and all of a sudden, right in the midst of it, he brings up the word divorce. And that's when we kind of realize that things may not work out as they had planned. His mother, Geeta, I believe Neetu Singh, does a fantastic job, even though we don't get as much as I wanted from her character. And to be honest with you, that's kind of how I felt about every character. Each character has their own set of emotions, their own personality traits that we get to know fairly well throughout the film, but there's always a deeper story that I wanted more from. Kukoo, who is dealing with, not being able to live up to those expectations. He's a bouncer. Can he go any further than that? His wife is super successful. Naina, it feels like she has everything that she's ever wanted except for, the happiness that comes from this relationship, and they're never on the same page, and we see them finally clash with a huge, I wouldn't say marriage story type of argument, but the first time in the film when I really got to learn a lot about them. Look, I enjoy their quirks. I enjoy, kind of the way this movie is paced, and you're getting a lot from what their relationships are to each other, but individually, I thought the film struggled to build them up as individuals until that moment, I want to say going from the second to the third act when we have this huge argument between Kukoo and Naina, and that's really everything I wanted because they're out in the open with each other, and yes, they're feeding off of each other's anger, but they're also letting you know as an audience, here's the problem, how are we going to fix this? So I thought that moment was wonderful. There is also a moment on the other side of things with this other relationship where Geeta finally sits back and says, you know what, here's what's going to happen between us, whether it's going to work out or not. I'm not going to spoil things, but those were the two moments in the film where I felt the most emotion, and I thought they captured it perfectly. The rest of the movie is kind of a combination of things. It's huge, it's grand, it kind of has that Crazy Rich Asians feel of massive sequences, a huge wedding. We're all kind of gathered together because the younger sister, Guinea, she is, taking that next step in her life. And I actually loved this character. She did not get a lot of screen time. I wanted so much more from her. But when she was on screen, especially a moment in the third act where, everything's happening around her and finally she snaps, I thought that was great. I wanted so much more from her through the first two acts. And you have other characters as well. You have the brother and the stepbrother, and there's a moment where our two main characters are having dinner in the first act of the movie, and someone kind of intrudes on that dinner. It's played for humor, it's played for comedy. I'm not entirely sure if the comedy worked all throughout this movie. There are also music cues in here. And again, this is my first real romantic comedy Bollywood experience. So I'm not used to the things that happen throughout these films. So if you guys have any insight or knowledge for me, please let me know in the comments down below. But I just thought the music took away from certain moments. I don't want to use the words emotionally manipulative, but it's trying to tell you how to feel. When it's quirky, it turns quirky. But the music that I did like were these huge, grand, bombastic dance numbers that we have in the midst of these wedding sequences, which I thought were really cool. Do they entirely fit into the narrative? Not necessarily, but I did enjoy myself. And even though I clearly have nitpicks with the script throughout, and tonally it was up and down at times, the core relationships were showcased well, and I do think there are really enjoyable aspects about certain characters in this movie. And to take it a step deeper and to look at these relationships in not the best light and to focus on divorce throughout this movie, that was unexpected for me. So with my first experience with a Bollywood movie like this, I would say it was a slightly positive one at the end of the day. So I need you guys in the comments down below. What film should I watch or talk about next? Appreciate you so much for being here. If you want to support this video, be sure to drop that thumbs up. I am going a 62% with my score. I think it was an enjoyable experience, and it's one that did leave me a bit like, all right, at the end of the day. There's this big, grand thing that Kukoo does at the end of the movie, and it involves a tattoo, and I'm just like, you know, it's over the top, but it's fun. And that's kind of what this movie was able to do. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.